how's it going? Day after Christmas today. I hope you all had a wonderful day yesterday. We've had a wonderful few days. We decided to take a little bit of a break over Christmas and maybe up to the new year it'll be a little bit quieter. So we didn't work on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, of course. We were with family all day. And then today we just decided to have kind of a quieter day and hang out with Benjamin. But he just went down for a nap. He just fell asleep. So I decided to run out here and do a couple of things that I thought you guys might be interested in. I'm gonna start feeding the birds. It's been such a mild fall/winter so far that they've had a ton to forage from, so I haven't really been worried about it. But I think now that we're getting into like close to January, I'll start feeding them and then feed them up through early spring. So anyway, I wanted to show you the new feeders I picked out this morning. We went down to the garden center and Benjamin helped me pick some out, and then show you the seeds I'm using and that sort of thing. And then I do have a couple pots in front of the greenhouse that I want to put some bulbs in. So I still have some bulbs sitting in the barn that I haven't planted. So I just wanted to get those two things done. That's it today. Before we get into the projects, a couple of things I wanted to share about Christmas is, first off, Benjamin loved it and it was so much fun for me. Like, I can't even explain how much more exciting Christmas was for me yesterday than it has been in years because of how much genuine excitement he was showing. Like, he actually, especially toward the end of the day, he actually understood what to do with the presents. He knew he needed to rip the wrapping paper off and he would find something awesome, and he was showing genuine excitement. He got lots of new cars, so that was really awesome. And then the sweetest gift that I received yesterday was from my 9-year-old nephew Liam. So he currently has braces, which I can feel his pain. I had to wear braces when I was older than him though. I was a teenager in high school. But at his orthodontist office, you can earn a certain amount of points for, I imagine, like keeping your teeth really clean, or I don't know how you garner points at an orthodontist office, but either way you can earn points and then at some point you can cash them in for different levels of prizes. He saved up all of his points and he cashed them all in so he could get everybody a gift card, which, first off, for a 9-year-old little boy, I thought that that was the sweetest thing ever. Second off, he had Aaron and I open ours kind of at the same time so that we could both see that they were each $5 gift cards to Starbucks, and he said it was because he wanted us to go on a coffee date. Isn't that the sweetest thing ever? I just thought I would share that because that really touched me yesterday. I had to try not to like tear up. So anyway, let's go to the truck and get some of the supplies and then go find the bird feeder in the barn. I realize I just talked for about 10 minutes without doing a project. So I know some of you guys appreciate that and I know some of you guys don't. So anyway, we'll get into the projects now. So I think one of my feeders is in here kind of mixed in with my pots. I'm gonna look here along this wall, right here, hoping to find it. And then somewhere I have a like umbrella kind of thing that you can fit above bird feeders. I think I still have it. Anyway, we've done a lot of cleaning out and organizing, almost to the point where I don't know where stuff is anymore. It doesn't look super organized, but it actually is. Way better than it was. And there's our bird feeder. And it needs a thorough cleaning. Now to find the umbrella that goes above it. That'd be a weird thing to have just disappear though. There it is, back in the corner. I totally forgot I even had this second feeder in here. This one also looks like it needs to be cleaned. Oh my, oh, did I just break it? Hopefully not. The top was just fine. All that happened is this piece came out because the screw was loose. So anyway, what this does, it's like an extra thing that you can buy to put on top of your feeders, and it just deflects any moisture, especially on top of feeders like this that are not closed, like they're all open and water can get down in there. And that way it just eliminates any excess moisture. But look at how old, this is my oldest feeder, and the plastic has kind of turned yellow. And then this is the one, I think the Edwardian one from Gardener's Supply, also doesn't have a closed top, but I'm going to be putting these in some trees that are pretty thick in pine trees, so I think they'll be okay. I'm gonna take these dirty feeders in first and get them all cleaned up. I wanted to stop off and say hello. Hello. Also, I need to borrow some of your black oil sunflower seeds. So those bird feeders are all clean, they're inside drying, and I'm gonna show you everything else I'm gonna use while we're waiting on those. In addition to those other 2 feeders that are inside drying, these are the 2 that we picked out at the garden center this morning. I love copper. I think it shows up beautifully in the garden and it's just a pretty color. And I like this one because there is a little bit of a hood over the top and a little bit of a tray, so it'll catch some of the seed right there. I will probably be putting safflower seed in this one, I think. Then we've got this one here. This is called the heavy duty seed feeder. I do like the clear tubes because I can see the seed level. Can't see that in this one. This one's just like really decorative, so I really wanted it. But it is handy to have clear tubes. I was able to find this little hood because this one doesn't really have much of one. And you can see how you attach it. There's a little hook underneath that you just hook onto your bird feeder, and then this top one is what you hook onto a tree branch. So it just provides a little bit of extra protection from snow or rain. And then I'll be filling these feeders today with an assortment of things. I've got black oil sunflower seeds, I've got safflower seed here, and then I've got our custom blend wild bird mix, which I'll explain what's in that in just a second. I like this because we get them in 50-pound bags and it's like 30 some dollars, I don't know, and there's really good seed in there. And then I've got a menagerie of S-hooks because these make it really easy to hang things from higher branches up in the trees. So the birds that I primarily see in our garden and attract to the feeders are pretty common ones. So we've got sparrows, lots of different types of finches, there are chickadees, cedar waxwings that kind of travel through. They don't stay for very long, but we do get to see them from time to time. Robins, woodpeckers, juncos, doves, pheasants, quail, probably forgetting some. And I'm by no means an expert on bird feeding. I just have fun with it every winter, and I don't know, it makes me feel good to see all the birds and things that it attracts and it's helping out through the winter months. So anyway, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about the food. So first of all, the black oil sunflower seed is such a popular choice because, like, and especially even over striped sunflower seed, because the shells on those are a little bit softer than the striped and they're smaller. So if you get like a 50-pound sack of black oil sunflower seeds versus a 50-pound sack of striped sunflower seeds, you're gonna get like a higher quantity of the black ones just because they are smaller. And they're easier for smaller birds to eat because they can actually make it through the shell as opposed to the striped sunflower. But there is like good about both of them. Like if you're trying to feed something specific, the striped sunflower seeds might be a better choice. But I find these are really good and they're really high in oil. They're really good for the birds, really nutritious, and they give them lots of energy. Then the safflower seed right here is also a really good one. Really good if you've got like squirrels and blackbirds. I'm trying to think of things that maybe you wouldn't want to have eating out of your feeders. These have a really hard shell and they have a little bit more of a bitter taste, so they're not as palatable to squirrels as other like sunflower seeds are. So this is a really good option. Plus there are a lot of birds that do prefer it. So like chickadees, blue jays, finches, cardinals, doves, they really like the safflower. And it's really high in protein, fat, and fiber. And then the wild bird mix. Let me see if I have like an actual card attached to the bag that has a breakdown. Couldn't find the paper, but I've sold so many bags of this throughout the years down at the garden center that I think I've got the blend memorized. So we have Niger thistle seed in there, which which is a seed from an African daisy and a super popular bird seed, also one of the more expensive ones. Really great for goldfinches especially. Usually it's good for sock feeders or feeders with smaller holes, so I'll probably be putting this mix in one or both of the feeders that I just cleaned out inside, just because it has that cage kind of around the feeding tube. That way bigger birds can't get in there and waste all the Niger thistle, like, you know, have a bunch of it fall out. So just the smaller birds can get to it. There are black oil sunflower seeds and safflower seeds. There's also white proso millet, which is especially good for like juncos, blackbirds, doves, robins, any of your ground feeding type birds really like that. And your other birds will eat some of it too, but not most of it, some of it gets kicked out onto the ground, and that's where your ground feeders come in and can benefit from that. And the last thing, which is can be a bad ingredient if it's used in too much excess, and if you're using it in blends that you don't have the proper type of birds to eat it, is canary seed. There is a small amount of that in, it's not a very big percentage, but things like quail, doves, and pheasants really like to eat the canary seed here. So we put a little tiny bit of that in the blend, so it's not really a filler. It will be probably kicked out onto the ground, but then your ground feeders like those 3 I just listed will come and clean it up. And again, I am not a bird feeding expert, but this blend works really well in our area, and I suspect if you go to your local garden center, they'll have some really good tips for you on what type of food you should be putting out, because they will know your local wildlife, like your local bird population and what kind of breeds you're dealing with. I do know to stay away from oats and wheat. Milo and red proso millet isn't as good as white proso millet. Proso, I don't know how to say that, but anyway, yeah, so that's about the extent of my knowledge in this area. But I do know you're supposed to keep your feeders clean. So like right now, getting those cleaned out because they've been sitting in the barn and like one of them had some sludgy seed left in the bottom. You've got to get that stuff out because mold is bad, and you don't want to affect any of the birds feeding from your feeders, because then it can affect the local population all the way around you. So keep your feeders clean, and buy good seed for your birds. All right, I doubt that those feeders are dry yet, so I want to fill this one right here with the safflower seed because it does have a little bit of a pan here to catch excess. And then this bigger one, we will put the black oil sunflower seeds in that. I did bring up a funnel. Since I'm dealing with such a big bag, I thought it would be easier to direct the seed with this. So let's do that quick. Oops. This funnel is worthless. The bottom of it is way too narrow for the black oil sunflower seeds to come through. So here they are, all 4 of them, hanging underneath the pine trees, which I think is the perfect spot because the pine trees, since they keep their needles, will deflect a lot of moisture. So they're kind of protected under here. Those 2 right here have the little umbrellas over the top. This one kind of has a natural one built in. This one, of the 2 caged feeders I have, seemed to be the most watertight up here on top. So I decided to use the umbrella on my older feeder. I also think this is perfect because I was able to position them like well out in the open. None of them are near branches. Like, so if a cat were to climb up the tree, there is no way any cat could reach any one of these feeders. Little peace of mind there. So that's pretty much it for this part of the project. You know, I'm gonna have to make sure to keep my eyes on them, make sure the seed level stays up, because once you start to neglect your feeders and you stop filling them, the birds will move on and look for food elsewhere. And it can be several days before the birds even find these feeders. So you wanna make all the work worth it, you know, setting up your feeders and getting all of the supplies and all of that. I'll also make sure that they stay dry. So I'll look inside the tubes and just make sure that the seed looks dry in there, because I don't want any mold to start forming or anything like that. I do think this is a perfect spot because as I swing around, you can see the windows in the house. We can see all of these feeders from like the part of the house that we're in the most, and they're far enough away to where I think they won't make as much of a mess on the sidewalk, and we won't lose as many birds to smacking into the windows, which is actually an alarmingly high number every single year. Okay, now I want to move on to the second part of today's projects, which is to plant up the containers in front of the greenhouse. I'm kind of starting to lose light, so I'm going to try to race through this project. Basically, I'm just putting in fresh soil, my bulb tone, my bulbs, which I'll stop and show you the bulbs before I actually cover them up with soil. Then I think I'm gonna pop my obelisks on top of the pots, no moss or anything. I'll get them watered in, and then they can just come up and look beautiful in the spring. So I'm gonna grab all of my stuff here, clean up my mess, then go plant those up. So here's where we're at. I've got the daffodils and hyacinths placed because I need to push those down into the soil a little bit, and then I'll place my crocus around the outer edge. But you can see that I did remember to run my drip tubing. It's not hooked into anything yet, but this piece right here will be made into emitters to feed the top in the spring. And then there's some tubing, which you can hardly see. You can see it right there. It's coming out the bottom. That way we can hide the tubing, you know, come time when we're actually working on irrigation and using it. But I've got an all white theme going. We've got 13 Mount Hood daffodils in the center, a whole bunch of Carnegie hyacinths around those, which are a step down in height, and then some pure white crocus. And all of these are early to mid-season bloomers. So here's the box. You can kind of get an idea of what they're gonna look like. It's going to be glorious. So we've got the Mount Hoods, which are 16 inches tall. Then we've got the Carnegie hyacinths, which are 8 to 12 inches tall. And then we've got the white crocus, which grow 4 to 5 inches tall. All of those with the obelisks in the center, I think will be absolutely stunning. I'm almost most excited that I remembered to run drip. That's like the furthest thing on my mind, furthest thing from my mind right now. Does that make sense? Bulbs are planted, topiary forms are in place. I think I called them obelisks earlier on accident. I like the way they look right now because they do add some vertical interest when there's not a lot going on out here. I might remove them in the spring though, and I know you'll be shocked to hear me say that maybe less is more in this case, and maybe we let the bulbs just be the show without any of the metal parts of this topiary form showing through, although it does add some beautiful structure. So we'll just have to see when spring rolls around and what mood I'm in and how the bulbs come up. I don't think I hit any of the bulbs with the legs of the forms. I was pretty careful and I just kind of like scooted soil out of the way just to get them down far enough so that they're anchored. But anyway, that's pretty much it for today's projects, and I bet you Benjamin's up now because it's getting dark. I don't know if it looks dark to you, but it seems dark to me. So on our way back to the barn to put my mess away, I did plant the daffodils and hyacinths about 6 inches deep and the crocuses about 4 inches deep. And I used some of the espoma bulb tone in with the soil right beneath the bulb, so like right at the root zone of the bulb. And that'll help them like just perform really well, and it'll help them establish enough to where they will put on a really good show the following year. I think that that's really important, just to keep up on that type of fertilizing. So I just checked the weather app on my phone and it says it's 36 degrees out here right now, which might sound cold, but it actually is not. It feels really pleasant. That was the most pleasant couple of hours out here ever. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it gave you a little inspiration to get out and maybe feed the birds or do some other random projects. I know if the weather stays like this, I'm gonna be out doing some flower bed maintenance, which I will bring you along for later on this week. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye. Hey baby, what do you have?
A ghost going.
Yeah? Oh, is that the fan that Grandma and Grandpa bought you?
No, huh?
I think so. Yeah. Did you eat all the candy out of it?
Oh, it's new.
Oh, it's on?
No.
Yeah.